So here it starts off. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Keep your head. Don't lose your temper. Stifle your emotions, as I once said on this podcast. And it's saying, especially when everyone else around you is not only losing their temper, but on top of that, they're blaming you. This is a little bit of ownership here. This is a little bit of extreme ownership. And I've talked about that. When someone blames you for something, you know what you do? You say, yeah, you're right. It is my fault. This is what I'm going to do to fix it. You pathetic. You don't say that part.
Don't say that.
You keep that to yourself. When there's a problem and people are blaming it on you, own it. Own it. And don't lose your temper. Stifle your emotions. Next line. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. There's a little dichotomy here, right? So you got to be confident, of course, right? Trust yourself. That's what it means. Believe in yourself. Even when other people are doubting you, you got to trust that you're doing the right thing. You got to trust that you're capable. You got to trust that you can make this happen. That's what it means to trust yourself when all men doubt you. But there's a dichotomy here. And this is so important because what that means, what that one line alone could lead to is, hey, I'm just going to be overconfident, right? I'm confident. Hey, I'm right. Everyone else is wrong. You don't get it. That's not what's being said here because there's a but. That's the dichotomy part. The but is the dichotomy part. Because while you got to believe in yourself, yes, and at the same time, you also have to make allowance for their doubts. That means you have to understand that you might have some issues. You might not be perfect. You might be wrong. You might not be as smart or as talented or as squared away as you think you are. And your idea that you came up with might not be the best one. So yes, you got to have confidence, even when people are doubting you, but you got to remember that they could be doubting you for a good reason. You could be wrong. You should always have that in the back of your head. That's the dichotomy. Humble, confident, but humble. That's what we're talking about. Next line. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting. Patience. That's about patience. I think I've told this. Have I told the story about being on a ship and waiting for chow?
Not that I can remember.
Okay, so I was on my first deployment as a SEAL on a ship in the Navy. We're overseas. We're spending a lot of time at sea. And to eat food, which was, I'm not going to say it was scarce, but they'd feed you 3 times a day. And on the type of ship I was on, an amphibious ship, there's several hundred Marines on board. Obviously, there's the sailors that run the ship. There's SEALs. We're an 18-man SEAL platoon on there. But everyone's got to be fed when it's chow time. And so everyone would go line up for chow. You get in line, and the line would be long. And depending on how hungry you are, maybe you want to get up there a little early. Anyways, to make a long story short, so we get in line, and for whatever reason, they got this rule that you're not allowed to lean on the bulkhead. You know what a bulkhead is?
In a plane, I do.
In a plane, what is it?
That front part.
Yeah, that's the front part. It's a wall.
Yeah.
Basically, on a ship or an aircraft, it's a wall. It's a bulkhead. So for whatever reason, in the Navy, standing in the chow line, you're not supposed to lean on the bulkhead. So imagine this. You're going to be standing there you're standing 3 inches from a wall, but you're not supposed to lean on it.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't a 3-minute stand. This is half an hour. This is 40 minutes waiting for the chow to open up and then serve everybody. Right. And I remember I learned something about patience. Because then you get these guys that, the people that they have a little bit of authority and they're going to use it.
Sure.
And if given the opportunity, they will abuse it. They're going to take it to the next level.
Yeah, man.
So there'd be some guys, not all of them. I was always my goal to make friends with anybody that had anything to do with feeding us on a ship. I wanted to be their bro because then you get a couple extra chicken nuggets. Maybe you get an extra scoop full of ravioli, which is important. Yeah, big time. Yeah. Especially when you're trying to pack on the mass, right? Sure. So I try to be friends with all those people, but some of those guys, they didn't care about friends, right? They had that authority. Yeah. And there's one guy, I remember he had the authority. He was in charge of making sure that line was, maintained discipline. in the line. That was his deal.
Yeah.
And he has a badge of some kind. I want to say he was a master at arms, which is a job in the Navy. I think this guy was actually a master at arms. So he had some kind of badge, right?
Yeah.
So that takes that authority attitude up one, maybe two notches,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's coming at you.
Yeah.
So I'm standing in line one day, and I'm leaning on the bulkhead. Am I being a little bit lazy? Sure. I'm telling you, it's a long deployment, right? I'm leaning on the bulkhead. He comes over. Hey, no leaning on the bulkhead.
Yeah.
And you know what I did?
What?
Got off the bulkhead.
Mm-hmm.
I just stood up straight. Didn't get mad. Didn't get angry. He's doing his job. Not supposed to lean on the bulkhead. Just normal face. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Was I a broken man? Was I a broken man? Did my will break? I don't think so. No. What I did was I accepted. I was able to wait and not be tired by waiting. So be patient. This the moral of that line.
Well, technically, you weren't able to wait without getting tired because you leaned on the bulkhead.
Right.
You got corrected.
I got corrected, and then I got untired.
Gotcha. Yeah. Then man.
All right. Next line. Or being lied about, don't deal in lies.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to lie about you. Tell the truth. Tell the truth about what's going on. Getting caught in the web of lies, not fun.
No.
Not fun. And you see it happen with people. I'm trying to think. You remember when you were a little kid and you'd think you'd get away with some little web of lies?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or you see your kids do it.
Yeah.
They tell a little lie about something and the web just encapsulates them. But adults do that too.
Yeah,
you know,
fully.
you see that happen. You see that happen with in politics.
Yeah.
You know, I never did this. You know what I mean? And then they have video, they have audio, and it's just if that person would have said, "Hey, this is what I did. This is what I did. I'm sorry, it's a bad mistake." I throw myself to the judgment of the people. Right? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But instead, they make up some lie about. I've never seen that woman before in my life.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, really? We have a video of you.
Yeah.
Apparently quite acquainted with this woman.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yeah, don't get in the web of lies. It's not going to help you. Next line. Or being hated. Don't give way to hating. Now, what's interesting about this is we actually have a name for these people now, right? Haters. Right?
Sure.
That's a new word. I don't think there was such a thing as haters. When I was a kid, there was no such thing as haters.
Yeah.
There was someone that didn't like you wouldn't say that person's a hater.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a thing.
Well, there's an added sprinkled in element when you say hater. Haters typically is
someone that hates everybody.
No, someone who hates
everything.
No, it's when there's an element of jealousy in there. That's what a hater is.
Okay, so I actually nailed this then. So as I was thinking about this, that's kind of what I thought. Some people aren't going to like you for whatever reason, but oftentimes the reason isn't you.
Yeah.
It's actually them, right?
Yeah, that's a hater.
It's them. It's they hate your success. They hate your happiness. They hate the fact that you got whatever it is that they want, right? That's jealousy. Yeah. So yeah, some people are going to get, they're going to be haters.
Yeah. And
so the recommendation here is don't give it back to them.
Yeah.
You ever heard that the opposite of love isn't hate? The opposite of love is indifference.
Yeah.
So the opposite of hate is indifference too, right? Whatever.
Right.
That's sort of my recommended course of action. Someone that hates the fact that you're winning. I kind of feel sorry for him, right? But
yeah, everyone
you got to move past that, I guess.
Yeah, if you get by the emotional part when someone's hating on you. You do kind of feel, you can, depends on who you are, I guess, but you can kind of feel sorry for them because it's kind of a lonely,
actually, I think when I say I feel sorry for him, I think that's almost like a little bit of ego of mine too, of a little dig, I feel sorry for that person. Right. It's a defense mechanism of my own, I think. You know what I mean? It's kind of a backhanded insult, right? Yeah. oh, you know, Echo said this about you. You know, I actually feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
It's almost like that guy's so low. So I think there's a little bit of ego there from my point when I say something like that.
Yeah, I know.
So that's why I think indifference is maybe the better step. Like, hey, whatever, man. Yeah. Hey, some people are going to like me, some people won't. I'm good with it. We're moving on over here.
And we got work to do. There's a culture of embracing that too. You know how people will be like, "Hey, if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong," or something like that. Like they'll say that kind of stuff.
To me, you know how you talk about how someone says, "Hey, that's just the way I am. That's my personality." Yeah. To me, that is brushing up against it, right?
That, yeah.
Hey,
could be. Yeah.
You know, hey, some people gonna hate me. That's the way it is. It's like, no, actually. Yeah. Let's think about at least. Let's account for it a little bit. Let's figure out. You know, maybe why. Yeah.
I actually, sometimes, I mean, this is kind of a smaller deal than even warrants me talking about it, but...
Something tells me you're going to do it anyways.
I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, in the spirit of trying to understand the nature of haters and
we're actually talking on a podcast right now about the nature of haters.
It's true. Well, some would say, hey, if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong, meaning you're not doing something big enough for the jealous people in the world to be jealous of.
This is a whole area that we just don't want to deal with, right? I mean, seriously, right? This is like,
it's true, man.
This is like the area that we're just not. Yeah. That's why I think that's what's good. What the statement here. Being hated, don't give way to hating. Indifferent, move on. Let's sense. Not worry about it. Yeah. And next line. That's where I'm going.
Analyze it.
Yeah. All right, next. And yet, don't look too good nor talk too wise. Don't look too good nor talk too wise. So this is important because this is a little bit of dichotomy too of, hey, don't give way to hating, don't deal in lies, but at the same time, saying don't look too good or talk too wise. So you got to keep it real, basically. And you don't want to be a know-it-all. You don't want to talk down to people. You don't want to be the person that comes across like, oh, I'm virtuous. I'm more virtuous than you. That's what that line is, right? Don't try and look too good like you would never do anything wrong. It's like, oh, that guy got in trouble. That guy got caught in a web of lies. Instead of, jump, it's like, oh, hey, you know what? He made a mistake. Good luck to him. I hope he can figure it out. Hope he finds the right path out of his situation. Instead of talking like, oh, that would never happen to me because I'm virtuous. Yeah. Or talk too wise, which is, I know everything, right? Yeah. I think that's people that are trying to come across. Remember when we were on with Captain Charlie Plum and Jim Kunkel, and they were trying to drag me into being like them? They're kind, they're like, hey, we're warriors like you, Jocko, and I was like, no, guys, no, like you guys are totally like not just like more heroic than me, but on top of that, better people. Like I'm like a rat running around compared to those guys, and so I'm not ever trying to be a guy that's saying, oh yeah, well I'm virtuous and you're not. No. Hey man, we're all struggling. Yeah.
Could this mean to, it says don't look too good nor too wise. Like how this is the concept where when people make speeches or they'll have some sales pitch or something and they'll want every word to be perfect. But then when a sales pitch is like super perfect, it doesn't connect as well as if it's just a person talking normal to you. That's true. Saying and all this. Just that idea, so if someone's focusing so hard on being like perfect in every way and like knowing every single possible thing and just not showing any flaws, like focusing on it, maybe that's a mistake because they kind of create a disconnect.
I don't think that's what this is talking about, but I think it is correct. So I'm going to give you an example. From my perspective, one of the reasons that podcasts right now do really well is because they're normal people talking like normal people. And I think that if there are podcasts out there that are way polished and everything, and I don't like to listen to those podcasts that are all polished, right? I don't. There's very few. Actually, I can't think of any of the podcasts that I actually like are polished to that nth degree, right? Because that's when you're talking about, a highly produced with the background music and all that stuff. Like those podcasts, I don't like those as much.
Yeah.
I don't like those. And even when you talk about the produced podcast, like Hardcore History, he's still talking. Right. He's still talking. I mean, obviously Joe Rogan, obviously Tim Ferriss, even Martyr Made, right? Martyr Made, he's talking, right? He's not just making things happen. So I think there's something to that. There's something to the fact that we're not talking about doing everything perfect, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
I think if this podcast, what would this podcast sound like? It'd be like, welcome to the Jocko Podcast. This is episode 140. We're here to talk to you today about Rudyard Kipling. He was born in one of those. Who wants to listen to that?
Yeah. I dig. Yeah, if it sounds like, well, because I think anyway, and it has a lot to do with like what you're used to, you know, where like if you're used to like a polished presentation and then all of a sudden it's not polished, it's like, oh, he kind of fumbled through that one.
Well, there's a difference between not polished, and I've also heard podcasts that are not prepared or not professional, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
That's the other end of the spectrum, and there's a dichotomy because you can go too far. Sometimes I think people they think, well, Joe Rogan, he just presses record and talks. Yeah. And they think that's just what that is, right? Oh, I can do that. Yeah. I'll just press record and I'll talk with this other guy. Yeah. And then you listen to them and you think there's a reason why Joe Rogan is so popular.
Yes, sir.
The reason that Joe Rogan's so popular is because even when he's just conversing, he's got a skill set that he was probably born with, and then he honed it as a comedian, and then he honed it as an actor, then he honed it as a announcer for the UFC, and then he started this podcast, and so he was already good at it, and then he's done 1,500 podcasts that are 2, 3, and 4 hours long. Yeah. So guess what? You get good at figuring out. You listen to yourself and go, "Oh, that didn't sound good." And so there's a big difference. Yes, there's podcasts that people just think they're going to hit record and just talk, and it's going to be super cool. Dichotomy, not cool.
Yeah, sure.
Hard to listen to. Some of those are hard to listen to. Yeah. Got to gut through them.
Yeah.
So check. All right, next line. If you can dream and not make dreams your master. That one's pretty. That's a pretty awesome line, right? That's a pretty awesome line. And it's a dichotomy. Yes, dream, but don't make them your master. Don't make dreams live in reality, right?
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Live in reality, not in the world of dreams. If your dreams are your master, what are you actually doing?
Daydreaming all day.
Daydreaming all day. You got to make something happen.
Yeah.
That's what's got to go down. Next, very similar, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim. So, yes, of course, think. But don't make your goal to sit around and think. And I think in my mind, when I hear this, maybe my own personal bias is coming into it, this seems like a little shot at philosophers and academics, right, that sit around all day and what they're doing is they're thinking. That's what they do. Little shot at those guys, because don't make thoughts your aim. You want to actually go and do things. You want to make things happen. You want to live. There's a difference there.
Yeah. And that's like a, because you know how like I feel like you're kind of the example of that. Like when I start saying, whether it be on this thing or even in real life, where I'll start explaining something because I'll be super interested in like how this thing works. And hey, did you see what happened there? And then your attitude has always been like, yeah, okay. Like, okay.
Give me an example. And what do you mean by real life?
The outside of recording. So I'll like analyze, like if someone's like, if I were to talk about haters, like I could analyze that like a
you
lot.
Could go deep. You know, that's a separate podcast for Echo Charles podcast. This is Echo Charles podcast
just
number
the
1.
Dynamics
haters.
Of like, you know what people, how
the
people
dynamics of haters. Episode 1.
How people
that might be a whole series, bro.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. But you'll be like, all right, you know, okay, we understand. You do it for more like, hey, we're gonna understand so we can take action, or whatever. I'll just explain the understanding because it's fun to explain the understanding. You see what I'm saying?
I'm looking for application of that knowledge into usually leadership situations.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly
absolutely.
Right. And then it seems like you'll dig into like understanding it like as deep as you have to take action, and that's it. No deeper.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to sit around and meditate.
That's on what it seems like you're trying to avoid.
Yeah. And also, I think that the understanding of the broad concept is more important than the minutia.
Yeah.
You got to understand the details, yes, but you want to understand the broad concept, and then you can move forward and you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and
Pretty
then
straightforward.
Then an academic type, as your example kind of talks about, like their kind of goal is the thought is to analyze and see how this works, and that's the whole goal. Their goal is never really to take action. Someone else can take action, but their goal is the thought of it. That's what it seems like.
I think that's one thing that Dan Carlin from Hardcore History does is he like a lot of times I'm comparing what I'm reading about in historical situations to what I've either been through myself or other books that I've read, other situations I know about. Dan Carlin does one book to another book or one time to another time, but then the other thing that he does is he takes it to us. Like he'll say, imagine if America right now elected a person. Like he brings it into like real time. That's his to me that's part of what makes, there's a lot of things that make his podcast excellent, but that's one of the things that makes it very engaging is he brings it to, imagine if this happened today.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Germans attack. He just brings it to today, so it makes you think about it.
Yeah.
And he compares it to other time periods. So there's some similarities there, but his thoughts aren't his aims.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say.
I think when I just said that, I think he takes the thoughts and applies them to current times, right? That's what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Or one of the things that makes it interesting.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say the thoughts being your aims is necessarily a bad thing across the board. I think with obviously his approach it is, but the person who's just kind of gets a huge payoff in figuring out how things work, and that's sort of it. And it's kind of like, hey, if I'm gonna figure out how this engine motor works. It's up to the engine builder to build more engines or to build a better engine or whatever.
Know how it works.
Yeah, they're just real interested in how things work.
Yeah. Is it possible to be super, like people that want to understand jiu-jitsu but they don't want to do it? You want to learn moves but they don't want to roll?
Well, there is that for sure. Oh yeah, there is that. And I mean, depending on who you are, obviously that philosophy won't kind of jive with your whole thing. But yeah, I could see how that could be if someone's like, I don't know, someone who's not into necessarily the physical part of it as much as the mental part, and maybe like to watch it or.
Yeah. And I suppose some guys that can't train hard anymore because whatever, they got injured or whatever, and they still are into it.
Oh yeah, or these coaches that like maybe weren't that good or something, but they know, and they're like the best coaches, that kind of person.
Yeah, John Danaher, he doesn't have any world championships under his belt, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know, but
name with Greg Jackson. Though. I don't think Greg Jackson's never even fought MMA. I don't think, not one time.
Yeah, one of the best coaches out there. One of the best
coaches ever.
So yeah, so you get that kind of person.
But would it be saying that he made his thoughts his aims? No, because he put those, he applied them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, then again,
swing and a miss.
But take those academics though. See what I'm saying? Like an academic type person, maybe they're a professor or something. They teach about business or sales. They don't own a business. They're a professor, but they teach about business, all this stuff. So that's kind of their thoughts are their aims. Is kind of like that's their action. That's they're putting their thoughts into action. Right. That's teaching.
So I guess
others.
It's less of a shot than maybe I read it as originally. Against philosophers and academics. Or maybe it is. All right. Well, no, I think you're right. All right. Next, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, what a line that is. Triumph and disasters. And he calls them both imposters. He calls both triumph and disaster, calls them both imposters. Why is that? Because they are. Because neither triumph or disaster is an end-all or be-all. Neither of them. They feel like it at the time when you raise your hands and you get the victory. You feel like that is a be-all, end-all. But as Patton said, all glory is fleeting. Right? That triumph is going to fade. Triumph isn't an eternal victory. It's an imposter of one. And this is what's important. And this is the one that's harder for people to overcome, is that disaster is the same way. Some things happen to us and it seems like it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
But it's not. Disaster is also an imposter. You know what this happens to? This happens to teenage kids in their little relationships, right?
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Teenage kids and their relationships, they break up and they think it's the end of the world. And if they only knew that in 3 years they wouldn't even remember that person's name.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even remember that person's name. You could never tell them that.
No.
You can't ever.
It doesn't feel like that.
You couldn't convince them in a million years that in 3 years they will not remember that person's name.
No, not even close.
Not even close. You cannot. Isn't the mind a crazy thing? Like
is,
you and I
right?
both know this factually.
Yeah.
The girlfriend that you had when you were 14 years old, at that time, there was no way that you were ever going to think about another girl. That was the one. You don't right now. You don't know what her name was.
No.
You barely remember what she looks like.
No.
Come on.
Yeah. No.
But that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That when that girl breaks up with you, or guy, if you're a girl and the guy that broke your heart, you're not even gonna remember his name. And you know what he's doing now? Not much.
Yeah.
Not much. Don't worry about that, dude.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe he done goofed.
Well, my point is, most likely,
yeah,
these disasters that you have, and then it's easy. That's an easy one, but your business has a big issue.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna, man. Within 6 months of opening Victory MMA, the roof collapsed. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. A drunk driver hit a fire hydrant out in front of the building. The fire hydrant actually broke off, and the pipes just started squirting. I mean, how big around is a fire hydrant? It's a 12-inch water something. A 12-inch water line started spraying up and onto the top roof of the building, which is no big deal because roofs they're meant to take water. Well, what happened was the little drains, because it's a flat roof, the little drains up there, since it doesn't rain a lot in California, they had debris and they filled up. The drains filled up, and then the next thing you know, the roof just filled with water inside the parapet wall, and the roof collapsed. That was in 6 months of opening up. I think we had just started making money. Boom, we got half the building is gone. The air conditioners from the second floor, from the roof, are on the bottom floor of the building in the mixed martial arts area. I mean, it was bad. But you know what? It seemed like a big disaster. Guess what? Get it taken care of. It's like, move on. Guess what? The gym's still 10 years old, still going strong.
Yeah.
So these bad things are going to happen. These disasters are going to happen, but they're not permanent.
Yeah.
They're not the be-all, end-all. They're not the end of the world. And the victories, the triumphs are the same thing. They're not going to last.
Yeah.
Don't rest on your laurels. Stay centered.
So
stay balanced.
So did you guys end up clearing out the drains or what?
The drains, yeah, we cleared them out.
Good idea.
Day late and $1 short. Next. If you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. So you go out and you tell the truth, right? And then the truth that you tell gets twisted around by some knave, which is an unscrupulous person. It's a dishonest person, right? Let's bring that word back.
Sure.
Let's bring it back.
Freaking knaves.
They're going to twist your words, and you're going to have to bear it. And the reason that, this is what I think is interesting, the reason that you have to bear it is because if you get drawn into it, it's a trap. It's a trap that you're going to get drawn into. If you start dealing with if you start going in and trying to untwist this lies that have been told about you, it's a trap. That's what he's saying. It's almost like a battle you can't win, and by entering the battlefield, you're going to get wounded.
Yeah. So what is this? Like how like someone will say something, I don't know, and it'll like involve race. It won't be racist, but it'll like involve race because that's how the explanation pans out, on TV or something. And then someone else will come in and be like, oh my gosh, this person's racist because look what he said. And maybe they'll play like, the end part of the tape only or the beginning only or something like that. And then someone else will be like, hey, this interview, they'll ask this question, hey, did you say this? And they'll be like, well, yeah, I said that. And then someone else will come and be like, look, he even admitted he said this thing. But then, and then so it just keeps getting twisted and twisted and twisted. It's like that. And then the more you explain it, the more you say, wait, you're saying you didn't say this? Well, no, I did. Okay, well, you did or you didn't. Kind of, it's like that.
I think that's definitely part of it, and probably that's it. I mean, that's it. When you go and try and unwind these things, you're probably going to dig yourself a bigger hole. I think that's the overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see
Now,
that.
are there times where people say something that's so horrible against you that you have to defend yourself? Sure, that can happen. I think when you do that, you keep it simple, you keep it direct, and then you walk away, right?
Yeah.
You say, look, I would never have done that, or I would never have said that, or whatever. And that's all I'm going to say. Walk away.
Yeah.
Break the wrist, walk away. All right, next. Or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. So you gave your life to whatever. Your life's works. You gave it all, and that thing is broken. It's destroyed. And what you do is you stoop. I like that word, because what does that mean? It means you're bending down. That means you're bowing down, right? You're having to get down. You have to stoop down. You go to the ground and begin to rebuild what has been destroyed, and you do it with worn out tools. Now, we're not just talking about worn out physical tools like a hammer and a saw. We're talking about you. We're talking about a worn out, broken down you. You are broken down and you're worn out, but you go anyway and you start from the beginning and you rebuild again. That's legit.
Yeah. Remember the game Contra?
No.
Okay. There's this game on
I don't even know what that is.
Nintendo called Contra.
I never had Nintendo.
Oh, dang, bro. That's too bad. But there's this game named Contra. And anyone who played Nintendo knows this game because it's freaking awesome. There's this code. It's basically these two guys. If you go one player, you go one player. Two players play on the same screen, and you just go. It's like the basic side angle game. These Commando Rambo guys.
Side angle?
Side angle, yeah. It's not like, you know, instead of a first person shooter or something like, it's just a side angle. And it's these Rambo guys. You go two player, they both play on the same screen. Boom.
Against each other?
No, with each other.
Okay.
So boom, they kill bad guys, right?
Okay.
So through the game, you can get different weapons.
Okay.
So, and each weapon is like more and more effective, right? So you can get the basic shooter is what you start with, and you have a machine gun. You just hold the button down, and it goes, and it just machine gun. Then there's like a laser that just it can go and it can just kill like 5 people in a row, like that kind. And there's the spreader. It's a spread gun. So a side angle game, multi-level kind of thing. The spreader, it just kills everybody. Boom, boom. So can
you kill your own person by accident?
No.
No blue on blue.
Your bullets.
This game sucks.
No, it's not realistic. You're right.
This game is awful.
You're right. There are some unrealistic
Man,
elements.
if I had a
of the
game, there'd be some situations you get into that'd teach you about combat.
Yeah.
Wouldn't teach you about the spreader.
Yeah. Well,
Wouldn't teach you about blue on blue. Teach you about fratricide.
All right. Yeah.
Teach you about human loss.
I dig it, and that'd probably be a heavy game, but Contra, it's not like that. So when you get to the point is, follow me here. The point is, when you get the spreader, you can make it super far because you're just killing everybody.
How do you die if you have this infinite weapon,
bro?
system?
Well, someone can still kill you if you mess. Someone shoots you. Just like any other way, you can die. But since you have the spreader that's just killing everyone so easily, you make it to high levels. You see what I'm saying? But here's the thing about Contra: when you get killed, you get 3 men, right? I know, unrealistic, but still, that's most video games. Anyway, you get 3 men. If you get killed, you lose the spreader. You start again where you were, but you get that pea shooter again, the one you first started with. So it's that same thing. So you go through all the levels. You work so hard to get the spreader.
Wait, is this you have 3 men? You have 3 lives?
Here's the thing. Yeah, which is another thing about Contra, which is so awesome. You have 3 lives, but if you know the code in the beginning of the game, you can get 30 lives. And here's the code: up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A. Then press start. That's the code it gives you. 30 lives.
If everyone knows that,
I will 100% guarantee that every single person that has played Contra knows that code. Not even like 99%. It's 100%.
Well, yeah, because you get 10 times the amount of effectiveness.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a secret code. It's not like it comes with a game.
Well,
like you gotta
not very secret
know.
if 100% of people.
Well, this was back in like 88 or 89, whenever that game was out.
Pre-interwebs.
Yeah, whatever they.
It'd be interesting to track how that information spread.
Yeah,
back then, right?
Yeah.
Back then, how did it spread?
Yeah.
Up, up, down, down, left, left, A, B. How did that spread?
No,
there was no.
You wouldn't have got it.
There was no internet.
Yeah. It's true.
No viable internet.
Yeah, that's true. The kids, for damn sure, weren't on it. I don't know. Yeah,
so your point is that this taught you you will use those worn out tools and you'll still try and go back and rebuild Contra style.
Yeah. Like, because
I'm so glad Kipling is dead to not hear this. Bro, I apologize.
No, if he understood the concept, he'd be like, "You are exactly right." Because here's the thing. Listen to the practicality of this whole,
over there with your Kipling.
Because with the spread, okay, if you just had the pea shooter, right? We'll call it the pea shooter. That's the gun that you start with. If you start with that, it's really hard to make it to a high level. Because it's like the levels get harder and harder, and you just got that pea shooter, but those guys are going to kill you. But if you get the spreader, it's the exact opposite. You can smash through levels.
Right.
And some of the levels at the end, you got to have a powerful weapon to beat the boss. You see what I'm saying? So if you have the spreader, you can get pretty far.
I've heard people who use the term boss. Yeah. Is there a term called king boss or main boss or end boss?
End boss, yeah. Main boss, end boss, yeah, for sure.
And this is a universal term.
Maybe with video games. Sure.
With video games, right? And that's my question.
Boss is.
But do we know where the term originated from?
Boss?
Who is the original end boss?
I don't know.
There's a video that someone made that's really, really funny. It's about me. And it's a German guy. And it's like, how did Jocko get so massive?
Yeah.
Have you seen that video?
Well, what was it?
He just makes a video where he breaks down how I got so massive.
Yo, yeah.
It's hilarious.
Okay. Yeah.
But one thing he goes, Jocko is the end boss to kill all end bosses. Yeah. And I didn't really know what an end boss was. So I Googled it and I figured out that it's from the video game World. End boss.
Do you remember the date of that? Is it like an old school game, like an Atari game or something?
No. It's the video game World. No. The video game
world.
Video game
world
industry. Of video games.
Gotcha. Okay.
Look at you. You were a little taken aback. What video game was this, man? World. I want to play that. Give me my spreader. I'll go get some levels.
Because there's a game called Kung Fu in original Nintendo. It's called Kung Fu. 5 levels. But then they repeat. And they get harder and harder. But there's 5 levels. And I think in the game it called them the boss. Like the first level boss.
That might be it.
Then the second level boss. But I'm sure there's other older games with bosses on them. Yeah. Nonetheless, Kipling would say, because the point is when you get the spreader, you'll in Contra when you get the spreader, if you'll make it to a high level, you will. But here's the thing: that high level is super hard, so you need that spreader. Mm-hmm. And if you get hit and you die, when you come back to life or whatever, you got the pea shooter. You find yourself with worn out tools. That's where you find yourself, and it's hard. And if you put your mind to it, you can get that spreader again. But it's really hard. Super hard. Anyone who played Contra will attest to that.
I think that right there is, we'll leave it at that, man. Yep. That's my recommendation. All right, next. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. Never breathe a word about your loss. Isn't it when you meet someone and you talk to them and you deal with them for a while and they don't tell you anything about their background, and then you find out like later that they've been through some big struggle, so much more impactful and impressive than when they're like, hey, I did this and I went through that night. Just I got a good idea. Just be quiet. Yeah. Don't breathe a word about your loss. Yeah. Just move. Just perform.
Yeah. I can dig it.
And this is also about being willing to take risk. Willing to take risk. This seems like an inappropriate risk, to risk everything that you have on a single turn of pitch and toss. Doesn't seem like a smart risk. Rudyard, Kipling. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, take it easy.
I'm gonna say let's dial the dichotomy back of the extreme betting situation.
Yeah, all over.
Right. That being said, you absolutely have to take risks in life.
Right. Like you got to risk something. You can't just risk like a teeny tiny thing. Got to be a risk.
No risk, no reward. But let's not risk everything in one turn of pitch and toss. Let's not do that. Next, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, that's just awesome. Right? We're talking about forcing your heart and your nerve and your sinew. And sinew basically means your tendons and your ligaments and the things that hold your muscles and your bones together. And Shakespeare used sinew quite a bit because it's just like the core element. Sure. But this is like saying you will force your body and your mind to do what you need them to do, even when they're done. They're done. You're going to force them to do more. When they have nothing left to give, you're going to force them to give anyways. And then it rolls right into the next line. The next line. And so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. You got nothing left but will. Force of will to make your heart and make your nerve, make them hold the line. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. So this is staying balanced. This is the dichotomy. No matter if you're involved with the masses, right? Even if you're involved with the masses, you don't lose your virtue. Or if you're rubbing elbows with the rich and powerful, with the kings, you don't lose that common touch. You stay grounded. You don't lose the ability to communicate with people up and down the chain of command from a leadership perspective. No matter what station someone is in life. You remember episode 5 of this podcast, I read a counseling letter to a good guy. And I was like, hey, treat everyone with respect. O1 or E1 to O10. Like, it doesn't matter what rank someone is. You treat them with respect, no matter what. Don't lose that. Next, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you. This is what's interesting. It isn't always your enemies that hurt you, right? In fact, it's quite the opposite. Usually the people that hurt you the most are the people that are closest to you. Those are the ones that really put the dagger in and twist it. So you got to be above that. You got to kind of insulate yourself from that. You can't leave that last little bit of exposure, in my opinion. You got to keep a little bit, right? You got to keep a little bit. You got to put yourself in a situation where you're not going to get crushed by your foes or by the people that you're close to.
Yeah, it's hard.
Got to keep it in. It is hard. It is hard. Guys get jammed up, right?
Jammed up.
Echo Charles terminology, that jams people up all the time. The enemy doesn't jam people up as bad as the friends, right?
Yeah, because the enemy, you expect that. You expect them trying to jam you up.
Yeah. But this goes back to the original, what we talked about earlier. The person, and we've talked about this on the podcast, the person that hurts you really bad, that was your friend, they weren't your friend.
Yeah.
They didn't exist.
Yeah.
You thought you knew them. You thought you understood them. You thought they were trustworthy. They weren't. So we have to just look at it and say, look, that person that I was in love with, or that person that I thought was going to be with me all the time, guess what? That person doesn't exist. So we got to move on. So you got to keep, I think, a little bit, and this might sound cold-blooded, right? This sounds a little bit cold-blooded to be like, look, you got to keep some stuff. You got to keep perspective. You got to keep people in check.
Yeah.
And if you let them get in to the point where they can rip you apart, you're going to be careful.
Yeah.
Got to be careful who you decide you're going to do that with. Real careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or this is, I think what I do is more like this. If that happens, I recognize it. Okay, this is what happened. Boom, that person wasn't who I thought they were. We're moving on.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Yeah.
Next quest. You know what I mean? We're moving on.
Yeah, so I guess it maybe
I have the ability. I shouldn't say that. I have the ability. I think I learned along the way. Hey, once someone exposes themselves, reveals themselves as a knave, right? A knave. Once they reveal themselves as a knave, I'm over it. Yeah. I'm moving on because they've revealed. Great. I'm actually happy that now I don't have to invest any more time, effort into this person that's a knave. A wretched knave.
Knaves. Yeah, and then you have this kind of, how should I say, overdeveloped control of your emotions, we'll call it. Where like the average person is like, it's kind of like if you built a house, right? Mm-hmm. You built a house on Kauai. and it was a nice house. You lived there for 10 years, 15 years even. A lot of memories in that house. Maybe even had some kids, whatever. First dog, all that stuff. And then a hurricane comes, blows it down, right? There's really nothing you could have done. You know, like if you had a girlfriend, then she doesn't have the signs of being a knave. But then maybe she changed. Maybe she was that all along. I don't know. As it turns out, knave. The house gets blown down. Okay, girlfriend's gone. You can easily say, hey, that wasn't the girl that I loved. All this stuff. Okay, we're moving on. Obviously, you got to move on, right? She's a knave.
Yeah.
If you're squared away in your head.
Yeah.
You got to move on. You know that already. But you can't just be like, yeah, just move on. What about all those memories?
Oh, you're talking about the hurricane.
I'm talking about both. So, yeah, I'll go back to the hurricane situation.
The memories were lies. With the knave, the memories were lies.
Yeah, but emotionally, it doesn't feel like that.
Because guess what? You're free.
Okay, so
you're free. You got away. You
escaped. Okay, that's good.
Escape the knave.
That's
be happy.
Good. That's good. But you're talking about like practically.
Think how much you learned. You learned that you got to be careful.
But see what I'm saying though? Like your sense of like emotional control allows you to go boom, right? Do that one, right? Well, especially when it's fresh. Like you can't just. Oh yeah! Look how much I learned! Yay! Let's get moving on. That's not the normal person. The normal person still has open wounds from because yesterday that house was intact.
Yeah, but and now all the memories, we get to rebuild that kitchen and get rid of that crooked floor.
Yeah, but
right?
See what you're doing again?
That one.
See, you're doing it again. You're just going straight to the positive thing, which is a good thing to do, which is the right thing to do. But rather, capability-wise, the average person can't do that. So
no, it might be a little bit tricky. But what are the options?
It will be a little bit.
What are the options?
There's no option.
The option is, I'm going to be distressed and mourn the loss of my house. Yeah. Mourn the loss of your house. Do it for 4 days. Yeah. There should be a limitation.
Yeah, that's a good idea, huh? Be like, hey, 1 week right now, I'm going to just let my emotions just be my emotions.
Yeah,
try not to like a week too long.
Yeah, for a house, for sure. That's one of the things
I was thinking more for the girlfriend or wife or whatever.
For a girlfriend? Yeah, that's a bit much.
People go months, bro.
No, people go years. People talk about it for years. That's not good. That's what I'm saying.
You can't do that.
That's my point. See, instead of making me sound like I'm all cold-blooded over here, what you should say is like, hey, I wish that some of the people that I know that wrecked their lives over a girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife that broke up with them and they let it ruin their lives. I wish you'd say, hey, I wish that they would have had enough to emotional control to say, you know what? All right. It's day 3. They're not coming back. I have 2 choices. Dig a hole, climb in it, never come out, or step up, make things happen. Move forward. The choice is obvious. And once you step up and you start moving forward, in 3 years, you don't remember that person's name anymore. They're no factor. They're no factor.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so obviously it's going to depend on what kind of person it is.
So I've talked about this. Like we don't have a good system. Yeah. When someone dies in America, we don't really know what to do because in other countries, in other cultures, they have a specific ritual that they go through. Mm-hmm. And in America, our rituals are kind of all jammed together, and then we don't really know what the right ritual is, right? Mm-hmm. We don't even know how to dispose of the body. Do we burn it? Do we bury it? Do we bury it at sea? Like there's all these options. Yeah. Do you donate your organs? Do you not? There's just like, do you donate to your body to science? Well, what are you supposed to do? What's the right thing to do? We don't even know that. Yeah. We don't even know what to do with someone's body. So how are we supposed to know what we're supposed to do emotionally when someone dies? What are we supposed to do? We don't have a physical ritual to do. So now what do we do? And so it's the same thing. Like there should be rules. Yeah. Hey,
like a protocol.
Yes, a protocol. Yeah. Broke up with significant other. Here's the protocol. Yeah. 1 day mourning. 1 pizza. Extra cheese, pepperoni, sausage, right? Mint chocolate chip milkshake.
Sure.
Cool. Next day.
Vodka.
No. No
vodka ever.
No, I don't recommend it.
I don't either because it'll send you even more in the other
wrong
direction.
Yeah. The next day I was like, what I was going to say is, 8-mile run. 8-mile run. That's just what you got to do. Yeah. Hey. Oh, what are you doing tomorrow? Oh, yeah. I broke up with my girlfriend 2 days ago. I got to run 8 miles tomorrow. That's part of the protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there could be different levels. Oh, I was going out with her let's say for every 3 months that you were with her, that's 1 mile.
1 mile. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And so then you do that, and when you get done with that, guess what you got to do? You got to do a contrast baths, ice, hot, ice, hot.
Yeah.
You got to do that 4 times, right?
Yeah.
No, what you do is a good protocol for contrast baths. 5 minutes ice, 5 minutes heat. 4 minutes ice, 4 minutes. You go back and forth. When you get done with that, boom, you come out, you're cleansed. And then guess what? 24-hour fast. Right? 24-hour fast.
That even actually kind of sounds weird, like for a breakup. But bro, so many cultures do that. Oh yeah, you gotta fast.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta fast for this.
So, and so then we could go on and on. But you make a protocol. It's a 3-day protocol generally, and then boom. Now we come out of that protocol, and then there's the last thing on the protocol is like go to work or begin normal routine. Back to normal routine. You go to bed. I know what the final protocol is. Wake up. Whatever time it is you get up in the morning. 4th day. Now the protocol's been completed. 4th day. Boom. Wake up. Get busy. Yeah. Get on with it. Yeah. Get after it. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we don't have that. So if you put in your mind, I think for me, I recognize when something is dragging me. This is dragging me in the wrong direction. As soon as I see something dragging me in the wrong direction, I know like an internal protocol. It's like, okay, I'm emotionally attached to this situation. It's not beneficial to me. It's not beneficial to me. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help me understand the nature of the world. It's not going to help me move forward with my life. It's not going to help me in any way. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to detach. We're going to take a little step away from that thing. Yeah. Because I'm not saying emotions are bad. Emotions are great. That's what makes us human beings, right? I get emotional on this podcast, right?
Sure.
That's not bad.
No.
That's actually good. It makes me understand myself and other things in the world better. But that's a positive effect of emotions. But if I start having negative emotions and they start dragging me down, protocol.
Yeah.
Execute the protocol. Boom. That's what we need to do.
Yeah. Like, what if like part of the protocol was like to shave your head or something, right?
Yeah,
and
for
then,
sure.
Yeah, like that could be, right?
For sure.
And then let's say like you break up with your girlfriend or something, and then like, a few days later you see her at the post office or something, she has a shaved head. You're like, oh man, she's getting over me quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that would help though.
That would.
It totally would, because it's like the process, and it gives you something else to focus on. See what I'm saying? So it's like, okay,
you're talking about the protocol in general.
Having a protocol, especially if it expands like 3-4 days, boom, boom, boom. It's like, doesn't AA have something like that too, where you do the
all
steps
kinds of
and
things have protocols.
Yeah, man.
All kinds of things. There's a reason protocols exist.
Yeah.
It's because it gives you something to follow. You don't have to think about it, and it moves you in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good, think about that for your life. Pay attention to it, because the scary part about this, and we've talked about this too, is like the storm. Your head's in a storm, and you can't get out. And the only person, everyone else can see that your head has a 2-foot cloud around it.
Yeah.
And everybody can see if you just move in a direction, you'll get away from that cloud. But everywhere you look, you just see storm and thunder and lightning. So you don't think there's any way out, but there is. Yeah. But you got to execute the protocol. The protocol is you go due north, 1,800 meters. You're going to be out, right? Yeah. That's what's going to happen. Shave your head. Run 8 miles. Eat a pizza. Eat a mint chocolate chip milkshake. That's day one. That's a little comfort. Yeah. Little luxury. Theo Von luxury style.
Yeah. I remember that. That was good.
All right. Next. We went way off on that one.
Bro, that was good. That was actually really good. That kind of gets you thinking, because if you could even do this right now, even if you're not even in a relationship yet, because those are the
prepare
ones,
the protocol.
Right? Just prepare a protocol.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if this, because it's kind of like a natural disaster, you do that.
You know what? There's also something you could do that would be helpful. And I hate to use this word because it gets used in a different sense these days, but you could have trigger points, right? Things that happen where if you identify things happening, you go, okay, if I get involved in this situation and this happens, that's a trigger that means I need to walk, right? For instance, let's say you have someone that has, let's say you meet someone that was an addict of some kind, an alcoholic, and you're like, okay, if this person starts drinking, that's my trigger. I'm going to walk because you don't want to go down that spiral with them, right? Or you whatever the case may be. You have someone that used to date some other guy. Like, hey, if I see that there's whatever a Facebook connection again, I'm walking. Whatever. Like you figure out these things, and that way you predetermine them when you're in a non-emotional state. Yeah. When you get to the emotional state, hopefully you can overcome your emotions, because there's people that are like, I don't care. I love him. I love her. I'm just gonna keep going. There's only this one time, right?
Yep. That's how
she friended me, right? And then they stick around. But if you have your protocol in place, if you have the triggers to execute upon, it's going to make it easier for you. It should make it easy for you. All right. Next one. This is a good one. If all men count with you, but none too much. And think about this one. And we actually got wrapped around this one a little bit in the podcast one time, because this is a dichotomy of the fact that I personally, there's part of me that doesn't care what anyone thinks. And then there's part of me that completely cares about what people, specifically people that I have a lot of respect for, I care what they think a lot. And people that I don't respect, I don't care what they think. So there's a dichotomy there. And that's similar to what is being said here. If all men count with you, so you take their opinions, you understand, but at the same time, none too much to sway you from the path.
Yeah.
And here, next line. I think this is one of the greatest lines ever. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. So, the unforgiving minute. That's the way you should think of every minute. Every minute that exists for you is unforgiving because it does not stop. It does not forgive, and you can't have it back. That's the unforgiving minute. Time has no mercy on anyone. And what he's saying here is if you can fill every one of those unforgiving minutes of your life, every single one of them, with a full 60 seconds of you running and moving forward and getting after it, if you can push that hard, then he closes out, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So there it is. If you can do all those things, and that's the name of the poem. If you can do those things that are simple but not easy, simple but definitely not easy, then the world will be yours and you will be a man. Meant in the most positive possible way.